In a previous video about microtubules, I spoke briefly about cilia and flagella. In this video, we will cover what cilia and flagella are in more depth. We'll talk about their function, where they're found in the body, and finally what can occur if there are issues with the cilia in our bodies. Before we begin, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we don't confuse flagella for cilia. Flagella are long, hair-like structures that are used to move an entire cell, and the most common example that is given is a sperm cell. Now, it's important to not confuse these two because when we learn about them, they're often taught together. So, cilia, which are similar to flagella, but they are shorter and usually present in large numbers on the cell surface. So in contrast, cells with flagella generally only have one flagella and it's usually longer. So to summarize, cilia, usually you have a lot of them, and then they're shorter. Flagella, usually one, but it's longer. This used to confuse me, so I just wanted to clarify that. Now let's talk about the structures. So structurally, they're pretty similar. Now let's look over here at this image. We can see that there are 9 pairs of microtubules arranged in a circle, along with 2 microtubules in the center of the circle. This is commonly referred to as the 9+2 array. Flagella and cilia have motor proteins called dyneins on the outside, and these dyneins move along the microtubule to help the flagella or cilia move. The dyneins specifically are an ATPase protein that links the peripheral 9 doublets and causes bending of the cilium. One form of dynein is called axonemal dynein, and that forms the bridges between the microtubules, and the other form of dynein can pull on the neighboring doublets. Now we want to ensure that the cilia have a coordinated movement. And so there are gap junctions that are between the cells to enable a coordinated ciliary movement. Now let's look over here at this thing called the basal body. These are made of microtubules and also help with assembly of cilia or flagella. The basal body is a modified centriole, which is a cylinder of 9 triplets of microtubules. It's important to note that the basal bodies have no central microtubules. Test questions love to go for this, and what you want to know is that the basal bodies don't have central microtubules, whereas the cilia and flagella do. They often ask you to contrast those on test questions. Additionally, recall that centrioles also play a role in centrosomes, which help the animal cells with mitosis. So now, why do we care about cilia or flagella? Well, cilia and flagella are located in various parts of the body, as shown here, in your nose, in your heart, in your reproductive system, the respiratory tract, as well as the sperm has a flagella. So now that we've covered kind of the structure and flagella, the next question we have to answer is kind of why do we care and what purpose do they serve? Well, if there is an issue with the dynein arm, it can cause Kartagener syndrome, which is also known as primary ciliary dyskinesia. So what happens is issues with the dynein arm causes the cilia to be immotile, so the cilia can't move. Now, this results in decreased male and female fertility because the sperm can't move, and there's also dysfunctional fallopian tube cilia. Normally, there are cilia in the female reproductive system that helps kind of sweep the egg from the ovaries to the uterus. Therefore, as you can imagine, if the cilia don't work, then it will make reproduction difficult. And then the egg can even get stuck and fertilized in the fallopian tube, which can cause an ectopic pregnancy. So patients with Kartagener syndrome have an increased risk of ectopic pregnancy. Furthermore, it can also cause bronchiectasis, recurrent sinusitis, chronic ear infections, conductive hearing loss, and situs inversus. So how does that happen? Well, you have lots of cilia that lines the respiratory tract that helps clear mucus and debris from the lung. So as you can imagine, if that doesn't work, like the cilia aren't beating properly, it can cause lung issues such as bronchiectasis and recurrent sinusitis. Smoking can also cause bronchiectasis by decreasing the ciliary motility as well. In terms of the sensory neural hearing loss, it causes deafness because there are hair cells in the ear that move to help conduct sounds. Lastly, the situs inversus is something that's pretty cool. Or not cool, but interesting. It's essentially a condition in which the arrangement of the internal organs is a mirror image of the normal anatomy. So let's look over here. Normally, the heart is on kind of shifted to the left, but in situs inversus, it's to the right. Normally, your liver is on the right, and then on the situs inversus, it's on the left. And when I say right and left, I'm referring to the patient or the person's right or left, not the right or left of the image. So you can screen for Kartagener syndrome by testing for nasal nitric oxide, which will be decreased in Kartagener syndrome. So now we've talked a lot about cilia and what happens. Let's sum up the important facts of this video. Cilia and flagella have 9 pairs of microtubules arranged in a circle along with 2 microtubules in the middle of the circle, known as the 9+2. Dyneins help the flagella and cilia move. The basal bodies at the base do not have central microtubules, in contrast to the cilia and flagella that do. And then lastly, issues with cilia can cause Kartagener syndrome, which presents with bronchiectasis, sinusitis, ear infections, hearing loss, situs inversus, and infertility. Thank you for watching this video, and if you got this far, please give this video a like and share it. Comment below with questions or if you want us to make a video on a different topic. Lastly, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a future video.